Failed. 37 years of his first.
Thank you. Welcome you all to the June 9th, 2021 regular meeting of the Cicero Town Board. Please note the exit from the front and back of the room in case there's an emergency. I'd like to announce some of the other folks who are here with us this evening. Tracy Councilman, Steve Procopio, Gretchen Walter, Steve McKenna, Robert Jermaine, Chris Vaznicka, Nicole Welch, Kate Pirillo, Teresa Ruff, Alpha Johans, and Glenn Freeman. Clerk, will you please call the roll.
Time for Becky. Here.
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 Here. First item on the agenda is pledge of allegiance, led by Kate Pirillo.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
One nation.
We had kind of an interesting schedule last year as far as having events, but some of the events we did have were things like 4th of July, Memorial Day, Veterans Day. We didn't have recognition for many of those important holidays. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of change things around a little bit and to start out now that we're post-COVID and asked Kate Pirillo to lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. Kate, would you please stand just for a moment? For those of you who don't know, in a few days, it's going to be the U.S. Army's 247th anniversary. And for those of you who may not know Kate very well, because you know her as a engineer, Kate enlisted in the United States Army. She went into the Signal Corps, became a commissioned officer, rose to the rank of first lieutenant promotable. And so that's kind of another side of Kate that you may not know, and I think should be recognized. Also, there are other folks here who also served in the U.S. Army. I see Don Bloss and maybe others. For those of you who served in the United States Army, can you please stand? And we got two, and please, everyone, give them a great round of applause. Before we get into the regular agenda, I have two brief announcements. First of all, due to the updated information from the County Health Department, I will not be renewing the health emergency that's been enforced for a number of months, so that's going to expire. Second item, we had some comments at the last meeting for folks who had some suggestions on posting items on the website. I took those suggestions and had ordered the PDA and the employee handbook items added to the website. So we got some other adjustments and adds to do that, but those are there. And if you have any other suggestions in that regard, please let me know. Okay, back to the regular agenda. Number 2, Nancy.
Approval of abstracts. Resolved, the Cicero Town Board approves abstract numbers 21, dated 5/26/2021, and 22, dated 6/2/2021.
Second.
Discussion on number 2. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Councilor Carlo.
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, I adopted. Thank you. Next item, Nancy.
Set public hearing, setting the speed limit on a certain portion of East Path Road. Whereas Path Road is an Onondaga County road, and whereas a portion of Path Road is in the town of Cicero, and whereas the town of Cicero is a suburban town that has the authority to set speed limits on county roads, and whereas following an inspection of East Path Road in the town of Cicero by the Cicero Town Supervisor, and the Cicero Police Chief, it has been determined that portions of East Taft Road in the town of Cicero should have the speed limits reduced to promote better motor vehicle safety and better speed limit consistency. Now therefore be it resolved that the speed limit on East Taft Road in the town of Cicero shall be changed in the eastbound lane from the intersection of Northern Boulevard and East Taft Road to the DeWitt Cicero town line to 40 miles per hour. And be it further resolved that the speed limit on East Taft Road in the town of Cicero on the westbound lane shall be changed from the intersection of Northern Boulevard and East Taft Road to the intersection of East Taft Road and Bastable Road to 40 miles per hour. And be it further resolved that the Cicero Highway Superintendent shall install all proper signage on the East Taft Road to meet the new speed limit stated in this resolution. And be it further resolved, the Cicero Town Board sets Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. at 8236 Brewerton Road for a public hearing to consider the speed limit change on a certain portion of East Taft Road and will be proposed by local law number 3 of 2021, effective upon filing with the New York State Secretary of State. Second.
Discussion? For those of you who aren't familiar with that part of Taft Road, on the north side of the road, is San Cicero, and the south side of the road, part of it is Cicero, part of it is DeWitt, part of it is Maine. So it's kind of funky there where the speed limits change and where the posting is. Obviously, we're not going to have Chris post speed limit signs and endless. Make it a stuff with that. So this addresses more in the area where there are intersections where there's not proper signage and in the golf course area. So we're making them up. Further discussions on number 3. Local call.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, I've been adopted. Thank you. Next item, the board approves the rehiring of Jack Dorn and Josh Brazil as seasonal part-time labor 1, whereas the highway department has a need to fill multiple seasonal openings. Now therefore resolved that the town board approves the rehiring of Jack Dorn and Josh Brazil effective 5/24/21 at a pay rate of $50 per hour, budget code DB 11012.
Second.
Discussion on number 4. Local call roll.
Council Wojcicki.
Yes.
Council Carr.
Yes.
Council White.
Yes.
Council Bacala.
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, I will adopt it. Thank you. Michael, we have number
Modifications to the bingo inspector compensation for the year of 2021. Whereas the town has the need to fill bingo inspector position, now therefore be it resolved. Due to COVID-19, the current town budget requires a change in the method of payment from $4,839 per year to $50 per session. And be it further resolved, the town board approves modification of the method of compensation for the bingo inspector for the year of 2021, budget code A31201.
Second.
discussion on number 5. Local call roll.
Council Wojcicki.
Yes.
Council Carr.
Yes.
Council Bacala. Council White.
Yes.
Council Bacala.
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, I will adopt it. Thank you. Number 6, approve change in job title for canteen staff member Amy Farley. Whereas Tony Broccoli, the youth development leader and the canteen, at the canteen, plans to retire in January 2022. Whereas Amy Farley, the current assistant youth development leader, is being trained to replace Tony upon her retirement. And whereas Amy is ranked in the top 3 with current civil service list for the youth development leader position. Whereas the current civil service list, the youth development leader position expires on June 26, 2021. Now therefore resolved that the Cicero Town Board creates a temporary double incumbent position as youth development leader effective June 8, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. And be a further resolved, the Cicero Town Board authorizes Amy Farley to serve in the temporary double incumbent position as youth development leader, current pay rate assistant youth development leader through December 31st, 2021.
Second.
Ms. Aug, would you like to speak to this as well?
No, only that the lists are not going to be extended. A lot of times it's extend them, but they've already been extended, so they will definitely be expiring and otherwise. Literally, that's offered to canvas the list. It's supposed to be easier to do it, and it was recommended by the HR person.
Why are they extending it?
They already have actually 4 years.
So what happens in a situation, say there was no one in line or no one available for that position?
You hire someone probation is given, they would have to be literally it could take your due out and results to come out.
So this would be probational so that when the test does come up again, that she would have to take the test?
No, she's already taken the test. She's
Right.
on that current.
Right.
So, this would,
Avoid that.
yeah, it would avoid her having to retake it before it's expiring. And it will also allow us to focus on hiring and canvassing this for an assistant position instead of
That list is going to be available, the assistant position or?
the assistant position was something later, and that expired January 9th. And that's not to be extended either, that is in its second extension. So we can potentially cancel that.
So along with this position, this is the canteen,
This is the assistant.
canteen salary, I mean, as far as these salaries go.
She's not just having a change in her salary. She's going to continue at the pay rate. She's going to continue to be. Only retires.
And then when it's fully retired, nothing changes other than her salary.
Correct. Correct. And then the civil servant on the roster. and
Yeah.
More discussion on this item? Clerk will call the roll.
Council Voice.
Yes.
Yes.
Council Voice.
Yes.
Council McCullough.
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you, Judy.
Yes, we, I want to give everyone the update on the comprehensive plan, that we are pursuing. And, the offer, the professional, packages came in on Friday. We received 3, in a sealed package, and then we received 1 digital. We received 6 copies, and 2 of the volunteers that have been working with me since we started this, Mr. Bloss and Mr. Schneider. And so I gave both of them a copy and to review. When we opened, Mr. Schneider was unavailable, so I called upon the chairman of the planning, Mark Marzullo, who obviously would be involved with this, along with Steve Procopio and CDA and several others, when the actual formal committee will be set. Also, I had received, after the announcement that we were going out for proposals from several community residents who are interested in at least talking about it and being reviewed. So with that, I gave Mr. Meyer a copy of all the hard copies, and I was able to get digital for 2 of the others. One was Cardinal with Judas, one is MRB, and one is EDR. This is based on the professional proposal and the actual requirements of who's going to do the best job for us, that we look at and review and make a choice. So with that, I know everyone never got, we didn't open till Saturday, and I just wanted to get it on the agenda just to let everyone know, the community know that how we're going forward with it. And the opportunity for board members, because Ms. White and Ms. Picallo both showed an interest in being a part of it, but obviously it would be on an opportunity when one or the other was available. And this is going to be a good year. This is not a happen overnight thing, and since it's been 2006, it's obvious that it's going to be pretty intense. With that said, I had asked if there were any questions, and of course it was short notice. And they asked, Mr. Carp asked about the proposal for costs and what was involved from MRD. I had since contacted them, and I had done it this morning anyway, just reading it, I realized that it wasn't, it's broke down, it's best. And they provided it, so I just given each one of them a copy as well. So with that said, I'll open it up to the board.
One of the items that was pointing out that there's going to be countywide, and that is the County of Onondaga has what's called a 2010 plan. They don't call it a master plan, they call it 2010 plan. It's been in place for quite some time. Obviously, it's quite a bit past 2010. The county executive is going to be giving council supervisors a brief on this proposal, hopefully in another few days. So hopefully we'll get some guidance from the county as far as what they plan to do. And, maybe that will dovetail with this, maybe it won't, but at least it's an idea of where things are.
Yeah, thank you. My concern with one vendor was simply that the cost breakdown. And we caution the rest of the board when we look at something that says not to exceed costs, unnecessarily mean that we won't exceed this cost before we come back. Ask for more money. I note that at least two of these proposals, I'm not sure exactly what we spent last time we did this, but it wasn't. At least two of these proposals are less than half of what we spent 15 years ago, so I'm a little skeptical about the costs. Frankly, I'm going to be completely honest. Well, I think there's a value to a comprehensive plan. I'm not convinced that it is appropriate. I'm going to give something potentially coming right down. To be transformative to the entire county. It's going to change traffic patterns. It's going to change infrastructure. We're not going to know what that's going to be for probably at least a year. So I'm not sure that it makes sense to spend this money now when the underlying assumptions on which this comprehensive plan will be based may change entirely not long after it's done. And you cannot plan for the unknown. We don't know if I think it will. We don't know what the changes are going to be, but they're going to be significant. A lot of rumors going around, some varying validity. I don't know how we can plan now something that we don't know about or what it's going to be. Again, not that long. I think you're looking, 12, 18, 24 months. So I'm concerned that to spend $50,000+ on this at this point is premature. When again, there's assumptions underlying any project like this, but we know there's a very strong possibility. I don't know what it means. But we're not voting on it tonight, so I'm
Thanks, John. To add to that, obviously, with this plan, traffic is one of the major plus zoning. And this plan is not cast in concrete. It is always, we have the opportunity to change it even after if it is adopted. To get started on it is the key thing, because it's not going to happen overnight, and who knows? We could bring in another big vendor. You never know. And the possibilities of any of the other communities around us. I truly believe that we need to at least start to focus, and part of this would be to protect our community so that we have input when it comes time for White Plains to start pushing all of their traffic into our 81 situation that we have now. That hasn't been corrected in the last 15 years anyway. So I just feel that, obviously, we haven't, we're not voting on it, and this is all open, discussion. So thank you for your input.
Well, just to respond to that briefly, you could get started on it now, then spend 8 or 12 months working on something and then find out that network are invalidating. So I understand it's a long process and you want to start to again, I don't know how much sense it makes to get started on something that's going to change. And I'm also not sure how, if this thing gets built, which I'm told if it gets built out as they're talking about the dwarf, and I'm not exaggerating, dwarf the Amazon project. I don't know how a comprehensive plan in Cicero allows us to prevent traffic from flowing into Cicero. If this, north of 10 million square feet facility gets built, not to mention the fact, honestly, I think if it gets built, we may be looking at some state infrastructure changes that may alleviate traffic or change traffic. Some of these could be transformative. I'm sure you're all familiar with the off-ramp at Cloudnoy Road, 41. You're heading north on 41. It says no re-entry to 41 from this. Imagine if that became a full exit. Imagine if you could get on and off, and I know it would take a lot of work. But imagine if that was a regular exit and you could get on and off 41. Imagine all that traffic that comes down Cloudnoy Road right now, either heads north on 11 to 81 or south on 11 to Bear Road to get on 41, is suddenly getting on 41 in the town of Clay instead of on 81 or 41 in the town of Cicero. Imagine what effect that would have on Route 11. I think that kind of thing's a real possibility if this thing is built out. We're not going to know for over a year. I just don't know that it makes sense to really now. We don't know what the near term. We're not talking 10 years ago. This isn't a decade. This isn't happening. We don't know what these near term futures are bringing. And again, that's only an example. C31 line. See the additional on ramps and off ramps with similar half exits on 81. There's a lot of things that could happen. But I do know if this thing gets built out, they cannot leave the infrastructure. So again, I'm not saying I think comprehensive plan is a good idea. Just don't know.
Judy, you thought me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, obviously, you just made a statement that said, no matter what we do, we're gonna get shoved down our throat anyway. So, with that said, I think that we need to start to focus on what we can do in the meantime. And if the state or whomever comes along with all this money to build that White Plains, that they're going to improve the intersection in 81 and Route 11 and 31, because it's obvious that Cicero does not have the money to do it, and they're going to create the problem, so they are going to have to fix it, no matter whether we have a comprehensive plan. Right.
This is a very heavy, important topic. I don't think this venue we're currently sitting in. I know everyone doesn't want to be more meetings, but yeah, put it on me to say. I think we should have a couple workshops. All of us can get together and discuss what each one of us thinks about comprehensive plan, moving forward, what they want it to be, discussing it with these vendors. I just think it's the proper way to go. So that's just what my thought is, and I just don't think this is the venue. I respect you, John. I respect you, Julie. I just don't think this is the venue to be going back and forth.
Thank you. I would agree. I guess I wasn't expecting this type of a discussion since we had agreed to go ahead, not a month ago, for this.
That's not accurate. We voted to do an RFP. Doesn't mean.
I agree, John. I'm not arguing with you. We went ahead with the RFP. That is as far as we are. You guys just got them and had an opportunity to look at it. that is what we were talking about in the discussion. And as far as how and where we go from here, I appreciate Mike's idea, which is what we should be doing in the first place. So thank you.
Before we go any further, this is not a budgeted item, so where are we going to have funds to pay for this?
I had done that, I did my homework in the very beginning, spoke with Alcock, and we have $300,000 in the salt shed. And we have the money we received for the, building the old highway department, and $50,000 from that will still give the highway department over $500,000 to continue to do the lean to and whatever else they need. And I cleared it with Alcock before I even started this, so.
Okay, we're kind of in a starting position on this, and this is the good discussion I had, so residents know what the discussion is, the board members have had. Not to preempt some information that's coming down the pipe, but the state DOT is looking at 31 very carefully. There's going to be a whole lot more information coming out of Route 31 in the next few weeks. And part of that, there's going to be state DOT people here to do informational presentation. So it's going in that direction. The public is definitely going to be involved, definitely going to have input. You're going to hear directly from state DOT people, what their thoughts are. So my thought to everyone that's a resident of town is if you have any thoughts on this comprehensive plan or the Route 31 traffic situation, please feel free to send an email. Please include all of us on the email, so we're not getting them in pieces. And that way we'll be able to get your input. And like I said, very soon the state DOT is going to be here. We're going to be talking about Route 31. So
Yay.
it's going to be a busy year. So.
They gonna be at a meeting? The public input,
Right, it's going to be a meeting, regular information.
like a separate meeting with town board meeting or something.
No, not included.
Okay.
Included. So it's going to be, everybody will be here, you don't have to make a special trip. Normal business, and they'll have a, they will have, if they do things the way they usually do, they will have many opportunities to have input. So, well, you're not going to let that. Okay, so that being said, we'll move on to the next item, number 8. Board approves the hiring of Casey Matthew Cicero as a part-time police officer effective 6/14/2021, whereas town of Cicero Police Department DCJS certified part-time police officer to fill up a currently vacant position, and Mr. Cicero was recommended for hire by the chief of police. Now therefore it is now the town board approves the hiring of Casey Cicero as a USA certified part-time police officer to fill the current vacant position at starting pay of $25.95 per hour up to June 14, 2021.
Second,
Discussion on number 8.
just briefly, I had a brief interaction with Officer Cicero. He's also a circuit police officer on a call for service and my place of employment. Impressed by his courtesy and professionalism, and I think that
Okay, further discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Council Blakey.
Yes.
Council Carr.
yes.
Yes.
Council Bicardo.
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
No, item is adopted. Thank you. Next item for discussion. The next meeting is June 23rd. It's a couple of weeks. I mentioned a meeting ago these stickers for recyclables. I'm not going to surprise anyone. Recycling and trash is a very hot topic this time of year. Now, that being said, Oprah is running out of blueberries. I don't believe that Oprah is running out of blueberries. So you may want to think about if you need that stuff in a third bin to get a regular container from wherever and put one of these stickers on it. So when the brush people are coming around or whether recycling people are coming around, they'll know which container it's which because they won't pick it up if it's the wrong item in the wrong bin. Okay, so again, if you need extras, please use these, something like it. please identify it on the container, whether it's recyclables, brush, trash. And make the job easier. And then you won't get frustrated if they pick up the wrong container. That'll take care of that. The town of Cicero has a safety committee. I have to tell you, they do an absolutely fantastic job. They're very dedicated. The results have been fantastic as far as lack of injuries, safety programs from one end of the town government to another are fantastic. And the town of Cicero was presented the certificate of achievement from our workers' comp carrier, just to make sure that we know we're doing a great job, and compared to other municipalities, that we're doing a fantastic job. You know, starting out with Nicole Welch, who's our ongoing, safety person, and again, we have a representative from multiple parts of the government, and they do a fantastic job. So,
Unfortunately, there's no frame.
well,
They should have given us an old frame.
that's who wants to come up with the money, and I wasn't come up with extra money. I'm probably gonna have to.
Could have sent a flag.
Yeah. Okay, that being said,
I'm very appreciative.
Okay, further discussion from.
Yeah.
No, that's a good.
That, and I'm not quite sure the full area, but Cicero is rated number 15 as the safest place to work and live. Do you know what the actual scope of the area was?
It was the state of New York, I believe, number 50.
Yeah.
Was it 50?
The terminology they used was cities, they're very different.
Anyway,
But yeah, no, we were the only state from New York town to make the top.
The city of Cicero has a good.
Yes.
The Olympics should came over to us. Take it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's it. Okay, further items.
Yes, the resident who inquired at the last meeting, Mr. wasn't here about the county bringing power brushes to clean Route 31 and Route 11. Said that they're going to be doing that. He wanted me to mention at the meeting, so I'm sure you know who it is.
Any other items?
I've seen them through.
Honestly, didn't notice.
They're coming back on Thompson.
Okay, hearing no further items, next item is number 10, public input. Your boss, please, for the record, if you name and address.
Tom Bloss, 6351 Mud Mill Road. Not to beat a dead horse, but as a member of the comprehensive plan, I have a special interest. Not only do I sit on the planning board, if we had a good comprehensive plan, that's going to help the members of that board when we get these decisions that we've got to make. I've read all three submittals. Gosh, that was fun. But they run the same route. They talk about the same things. And one of the biggest things in here that I'd like to mention is we need to have the public input. Not only our board members and all that, but the public. Let's find out from them people, what do they want? What are they looking for out of this town? And that's the one thing that all these engineers that are listed here, that's one of the big points that they bring up. The cost, it might be speaking out of turn, but a lot of that's going to be covered by grant.
Well, I guess, I think the only thing I would say, certainly Mr. Bloss, with no misunderstanding, I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I agree with you that it's.
Yeah.
But
The thing of it is that no plan isn't going to work well for us either. I'd rather have a plan and make changes to it as we go along than to go in. I mean, if you're going to go to Florida, how are you going to go? Are you going to fly? You're going to drive? What route you're going to take? What if you said you're going to take 81 and you get started down 81, all of a sudden you got to get off? At least you had a plan.
I think the more proper analogy would be, I'm going to fly to Florida. There's a good chance that tomorrow. Because in that case, I would wait and see what Florida's.
But anyways, we looked over all of the engineering reports and the whole 9 yards. And I think they will, if you look at the first thing that we're going to do is it's going to establish a steering committee. And they will meet with us. And the first thing we're going to do is have a plan to get the public involved. That's the first thing. And that's what we need to do.
I agree that when it happens, there absolutely should be a vote for the state.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm in favor of it 100%. And I think we should move forward with it.
Another Wednesday. Bill Hoteling, 6320 Matilda Gage. First of all, I just want to mention that my intention when I come and speak at these meetings isn't to be argumentative or out of line, but I'm pretty frank, and I was that way my entire career working. And it's difficult to change, trying to change. So with that being said, I agree with everything this gentleman just said about the comprehensive plan. Secondly, well, actually first, was there a meeting held with Al Sturpey and people from this board and the people from the town of Clay regarding that proposed property down the road within the last 2 weeks?
White Plains,
Like down the road here, the thing down in,
White Pines, White Pines,
is that what it's called?
yes,
I was not invited. There was.
if there was one,
Yeah.
I wasn't. Bill?
Well,
I wasn't, there's no doubt.
well, Al Sturpey's office told me they had a meeting regarding this with people from this town board.
Apparently, no one invited the town board to this meeting.
Maybe we got a different board.
Yeah, so,
'Cause I called all these representatives regarding, I guess Mr. Bloss's comments about the comprehensive plan about our infrastructure. Called Al Sturpey's office, I called what's his name, Caco, Rachel May, and John Mannion. Sturpey's office actually had someone there and answered the phone. It was good, had a nice conversation. Rachel May's office had someone return my call. Haven't heard back from the other two yet. That's where that information came from. Because I asked them point blank, have they seen anyone from this town board or any phone calls or any correspondence on a regular basis regarding getting help for our infrastructure? And from the two that I got responses from, the answer was no. Concerning, that's concerning.
I apologize. We're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about roads.
Well, infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, how do we get people in and out of here?
You notice this town board has made repeated memorializing resolutions to the state of New York, in particular DOT.
Well, I'm just asking about the meeting.
well, yeah.
Why would they
we're
tell me
talking about a
this?
Meeting about White Pines in particular, then you mentioned.
Well, it's the traffic, it was regarding the traffic.
Okay,
that's
well,
gonna
right,
create-
because it seemed like you were mentioning two different meetings, that's why.
No, it was all the same meeting, but it was regarding the traffic and everything else.
They've heard from us, sir.
Yeah, we sent numerous memorializing. Requesting their help and assistance.
And I do know their prior supervisor also made requests, it's directly to when Mr. Driscoll was head of the committee. This is something we've been various.
What
this board has been
is
trying
it?
for a while.
I don't understand the delay. I mean, this has obviously gone on for years.
I can answer a little bit,
All right.
it's okay. So,
I see you some microphone if you would, so,
oh,
thank you, Kate.
is it on? I don't know.
Yes,
Oh.
it is.
So DOT did tell us, they are very aware of our problems with 81 and the intersection. So they did, the meeting that the supervisor spoke of, that they're going to do a public input, and that deals with Route 31 and the intersections of basically Route 31 east of 81. But they are very aware of our interchange problem. The bridge there is not in bad condition, as we all know about the whole 81, so we don't technically make it because of poor infrastructure to get it done. But they did allude to the fact that if something greater were built
down Route 31 that was gonna cause us problems, it might push that to get attention. So just kind of like what Councilor Carpet said. So I do believe DOT is very, very aware. They have been preoccupied kind of with the 81. You know, all of that has, and they said, hey, we just can't handle, you know, we've got 81 to deal with. Now they've made a decision on what they're doing with 81 through Syracuse, and I think White Pines might head us.
Isn't it great that it takes something happening in Conclave?
I apologize.
Okay. Next thing I wanted to mention, I believe someone mentioned at the last meeting regarding different spots on Route 11. I know Route 31 is that's a state road, correct? And they're supposedly responsible for cutting the high shrubs down, blocking visibility and making it look better? Or is that the town's responsibility? The state. Okay. Again, I try to choose my words carefully. Getting on and off Route 81 in the town of Cicero. This is the first thing that people will see. Grass is this high. Under the bridge, the grass is this high. I mean, this is our town, not New York State's town. This is the town of Cicero. I mean, I just don't know why. Is there a violation if we cut the grass? I'm asking a question.
Mr. Demand?
I know, but can we cut it?
I thought a weed whacker a couple years ago.
Yeah, about in years past, when my son guy does that, he does go and he does cut it down. We just have been so busy this year, getting roads ready to take, we just haven't had a chance.
I just-
Everything going on state property. We, and road so we try to go out and clean up those things.
It's,
Supposed to be there, but,
I know,
I guess I'll let him give me a ticket.
well, I mean, like I said before, those other signs, if I knew I wouldn't be arrested, I'd cut the damn things down myself and get rid of them. But I don't want to cause that issue. Before I spoke about traffic studies, why we don't include that in these fees for these developers and builders. Planning fees for subdivisions and different things. There's a list with the cost of things. Why can't we just add traffic study, make them pay for it? We do it. Again, don't want to insult anybody, but in 17 years, and I checked on that other one there, the bus garage, it wasn't the traffic that it got, it was just a bad plan. They approved the traffic study. They said it wouldn't have an adverse effect. So again, these are professional people and everybody gets subjected to it, but I have yet to hear a negative adverse effect on the traffic flow town of Cicero. This one. 2 years ago, I came to this board asking about changing the speed limit in my neighborhood. It was under Vanesky. And I was told that state controls that. The town of Cicero is a suburban town, has the authority to set speed limits. How about on town roads?
What road are we talking about?
Matilda Gage in the pasture.
It's posted at 30.
I know, that's way too fast.
Yeah, I know we can't go forward.
Why?
I believe that you.
According to this, it says we can.
Yeah, no, it's.
Does it say we can set the speed limit, or does it say that we can set whatever we
You can
want?
set the speed limit. You just set to change the speed limit in the
Well,
on
what
the
they're saying
Camp
is
road.
we can set the speed limit, but it doesn't mean we can set it to wherever we want. There's parameters under. which
Oh,
we have to
okay, all right. Maybe I'm not aware of those. But I mean, I asked that question. I mean, 30 miles an hour is way too fast in a housing development. I mean, and I'm sure I would find it hard for anyone to disagree. All I'm asking is that we might want to reevaluate those things if we can to make those accommodations for the neighborhoods that want to change. And the enforcement of code violations. You know, we all know that there's certain white elephants in this town that have been well made, everybody's aware of. You know, the guy down there at the end of South Bay and Third and Lakeshore Road, I don't know what his name is. You know, 1 minute it's a marina, then it's a restaurant, then it's an apartment complex that is falling down that never got completed. Obviously, it didn't get completed because there was obviously violations. Am I wrong?
I don't think we're going to get into that.
Why?
Uh,
Well, I guess my question, my statement is either there's two reasons why we're not enforcing these things. Either we're incompetent or we don't want to enforce them because then we'd have to start enforcing other properties that maybe we might have a better relationship. That's the only thing I can say.
So I would ask you, with all due respect, that property and maybe some others that talk to Mr. Popio to get into more of the details of it and not have it.
Why? It's a public meeting.
But we're getting off into some other areas that.
How's it getting off in here? I asked a simple question.
Respectfully requesting based on somebody's particular property.
If we're running in fear of people for being called a racist or being called something else, then maybe we got the wrong people in charge. I've been told different stories that the reason we haven't been done things is with certain individuals because they cry racism. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I mean, I know,
I
know what you're referring to, but I mean,
well, I've been told that.
I'm sure
And I've heard that from many people, not just one or two. And I just, like I said, I find it either one of two reasons. Either we're incompetent or we're afraid. That's why you have an attorney. You're an attorney. I mean, and we have rules and regulations. I mean, do we have rules and regulations for just certain people or are they for everyone? Lady Justice is like this. We're all equal. That's,
you know, I think probably better.
well, no, you're probably more in tune with things than I am. I'm just making a statement. I'm just asking a question. And then when I get asked to
Well, your
not
question
talk
is
about it,
you're asking.
all right, well, then that's that. Well, that answers the question.
Like, yeah,
Okay, your opinion, but I mean, but nothing's done.
if you see a code violation, then Mr. Propio, I'm looking for it, like across them, like, done my job.
Okay.
I've never had an issue with that.
No, I've never had it. He's always been very forthright and everything, every question I've ever asked and that, but I'm just asking it here because it just seems awfully funny.
I don't know specific code violations.
Well, and that's it. Thank you.
Mike Boyle, 5984 Everett's Trails. Who wants $1.8 million?
Me.
Anybody? Anybody in town want money? All right. I don't know.
I wanted to get my name in first before you go.
All right, well, instead of complaining about taxes all the time and everything else, the question is how can we help the town raise additional fees and money? Right? Okay. That was a good idea, by the way. The fee schedule, we said for the developers or people that come in to pay a portion of the cost. I mean, they are adding to the infrastructure. I don't know if you heard Ohio yesterday is going to declare Google a utility. Utility. I'm gonna nope.
Hey, could you hand me,
There you go.
So Google, Ohio is suing to get Google to be a utility. Now, the watch this case for months and months and months. So let me take a step back from 40 years ago. We had a governor, his name was Cuomo. Well, think about that. Okay, and in 1984, they came up with a law called the 6-cent law. Does anybody remember that? Probably not, right? You may. Not that old yet. So what was the 6 cent law? Well, Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation had, and back, there was a recession that happened. They were trying to figure out how to create jobs. Okay, and in doing that, they created what they call the 6 cent law. Now Niagara Mohawk at the time could produce power at 2 cents a kilowatt, and some of it's 6. But the state decided, no, to create competition, Site Energy, sits next to Albion up there. They decided to tell Niagara Mohawk, you have to produce it at 6 and sell it at 10. And in doing that, we lost Fisher Guy General Motors, we lost Carrier, we lost a whole bunch of different manufacturing. So why do I bring that up? Because it wasn't a bad idea to create new jobs, but what it did do is it made us lose jobs. Okay, or at least go equal. With that said, this Google is a huge opportunity for the town of Cicero and all the municipalities across the United States. Because the internet backbone is run by Spectrum, Verizon, and the other, even Google themselves at Google Fiber. Okay. Right now, our franchise agreements that we have in place, when do they renew? But they come up every 5 or 7 years. So you know when that expires? So whenever that comes up, which, yeah, I would bring it up. Because what's happening is everybody's getting off of cable and they're starting to stream. There's new players in town, Roku, another one, Hulu's another one. People are not spending money on cable, so our franchise fee agreement, we're gonna be make less money for the town. But there's an opportunity here to, on the franchise agreements, get them on Google. The reason I bring it up is Site Energies 40 years ago, when they built their plant next to Alcan, they stole Alcan as a customer of Niagara Mohawk, and they got to use Niagara Mohawk's power lines to feed the plant. Is that fair? Niagara Mohawk has to pay for the lines. Okay, I mean, from the state government standpoint, they thought it was the right idea. Well, the internet backbone is already in place. Okay, and Google is basically like they're connecting to us, the people. Now, how many people own an iPhone in the room? A lot. How many people own an Android phone? Anybody? All right. An Apple phone is a product. Google phone, you're the product. Okay, that's why Ohio is doing this. And there's certain towns in Ohio that are starting to jump on the bandwagon to try and get $5 a head. So if you take 30,000 residents, $5 a month, times 12 months, you're $1.8 million. You do the math. The reason I bring it up is you can potentially put that in the franchise agreements as you move forward, but we're not getting franchise fees from Roku, and the rest of them that are streaming services. There's so much disruption. I'm in the software business for 30 years. There's so much disruption right now in the internet. Perfect example is Lyft and Uber. They totally changed how you get a taxi. Totally changed. The disruption in the marketplace is huge. And Google's making billions and billions of dollars. So the town has options if you're trying to get money. I mean, first thing is, we're paying our CFO here, our controller, more money than any other controller than the other town around here. That's nothing against that person. It's just that's in the back. There's $20,000 right there that we're picking up. That's half the 50,000, right? Okay. The other option is health insurance. I mean, I just happened to pull away handbook the other day, and that option was paying police officers that they retire would be 10 years of their health insurance after 30 years of service. I don't know anybody that does that. I don't know no company that does that. After 30 years of service, you cover the health insurance. They're 55, they retire. That's 10 years. Right now, you got what, 10 cops? There's something against the police officer. Make it like that. These are options. I mean, you could take our police department's $2 to $3 million a year. I mean, there's $2 to $3 million right there. I mean, if they can merge with the county, the town of Clay did it years ago. So I'm saying, what's the option? You can find new revenue, or you have to make cuts down the road. Okay. And I don't disagree with the part, the master plan may have to wait until we're going to have it down the street. But those are some ideas you should explore and be very mindful of the Google thing. Because once Ohio does it, all the other states are going to do the same thing. And when they become regulated, they're going to become taxed. Where's our portion of it? Especially if you're using Google, the search engine, you're the product. They sell your information for targeted advertising, and they make billions of dollars doing it. Where does it return? If I have to pay a cable company a tax, why can't Google do that? That's just one bring it up here. So be very careful of that, because that's coming really quick. And if you guys started early enough, you can be the pioneers out of this and get additional revenue. Thank you.
Okay, any other items of public input? Hearing none, I'll move to adjourn, and as I said, the next meeting is June. Second. Yeah, voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. See you in the break.